Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we'd like to welcome you back to this Ramadan series on the great iconoclasts, the 5 most important and greatest prophets of the Quran. Today we're still speaking about the Prophet Nuh AS, and during our earlier lesson, we had an overview of the story of Noah, the general story of the Prophet Nuh AS. And so today we'd like to have a look at certain select verses from the Quran and try to see if we can extract some very important lessons from those particular verses. The particular chapter that I want to focus on today is chapter 71, referred to as Surah Nuh, the chapter Noah in the Holy Quran. And the particular verses I want to deal with are verses 21 until the very end, verses 28. But prior to that, I do want to sort of begin by providing a little bit of context to this particular surah. That this chapter known as Noah is a Meccan chapter. And what is important about this is that we understand that the Quran, when it was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that it was revealed over a period of about 23 years, that it wasn't revealed in one single installment. And in verses that were revealed while he was living in Mecca referred to as the Meccan verses, and then those that revealed after he migrated to Medina are referred to as Madinan verses. Now the Meccan verses generally encourage things like the general morality and patience, goodwill to people, among other things. And the verses of Medina, many of them pertain to matters of law, or they add those matters from law, among other things, to the discussion of the Islamic teachings. At any rate, being Meccan verses is important that we think about the very fact that this is a period where the Muslims were in a state of weakness, that by the mere fact that Allah SWT revealed this chapter to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ during this particular period of time in his mission serves as somewhat of an encouragement for him to endure the particular persecution that he and his people are suffering during this particular time. That Noah himself in some ways is an archetype, in all the prophets, the great iconoclasts are archetypes for the Prophet Muhammad himself to begin with, but definitely archetypes for others as well. But first and foremost, they are archetypes for the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So Noah himself is an archetype for endurance and for forbearance and for patience, being this particular man, peace be upon him, that we know, who had lived for almost 1,000 years in a priestess people and had endured a lot of the sort of malignment and negativity from those people, that when the Prophet Muhammad gets this message, then it's a way of saying to him, well, if this is an example of one before you, and this is what he had to endure, and this is how he endured, you see. So this particular Surah Nuh, in some ways we can look at it as a chapter which pretty much it documents many of the complaints made by Noah to his Lord, but not in a negative sense, not a complaint in the negative sense. That is to say, this is Noah pleading with his Lord and letting him know that, yes, I'm doing everything that you asked me to do. And this is the response of my people, right? Because the surah begins, that Allah, he sent Noah to his people, warning them of this punishment, and then it soon after transitions into Noah speaking directly to Allah and praying directly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, oh Allah, I've called my people, I called them publicly, I called them in private. And every time I call them, it only increases them in flight. Allah, I told them that even you will forgive them if they stop doing what they do. But they just simply turn away and they just ignore what I have to say. That he continues throughout the surah this way. And then he said, and then I even explained to you your signs, and this is exactly what I said to them. I told them, reflect upon the fact that Allah created you, and he created the sun, he created the moon, he created these 7 heavens, and we take guidance from these different things, and he created you from what he created you from, and he caused you to grow forth from the earth, and among other things, right? And then he returned you to the earth, and I explained to them and demonstrated to them your power, right? And then finally, when we come to verse 21, he says, قال نوح ربي إنهم عصوني واتبعوا من لم يزده ماله وولده إلا خسارا. And so Noah said to them, "O my Lord, they have disobeyed me, and they have followed he whose wealth and children only increases one in ruin. وَمَكَرُوا مَكْرًا كُبَّارًا." And they have erected a great plot. Erected a great plot, right? So again, they have disobeyed me. You know, those people whose wealth and their children mean that, you know, there's everything to them. And for these people, of course, children in particular, for sons have such a great value, because the more wealth that you have, right, and the more land that you own in particular, that the more workers you require, you know, so the idea of desiring sons as opposed to daughters from very early in the history of humanity has had a great place, you know, in the hearts of men, you know. So they felt proud to have a lot of sons, you know. They had proud to have a lot of women, right? Because with more women, they can create more sons, and, you know, they can manage more land, among other things, you know. So they're following these people. They following the rich people, right? They disobeyed me, and they followed the rich people, right? The people with status, you know, these icons, right? Right, and so in Nuh alayhi salam is here to smash the icons, right? You know, وَمَكَرُوا مَكْرًا كُبَّارًا, and they came up with a great plot. They erected a great plot. قَالُوا لَا تَذَرُنَّ آلِهَتَكُمْ. They said, do not abandon your gods. They said, do not abandon your gods. وَلَا تَذَرُنَّ وَدًّا وَلَا سُوَاعًا وَلَا يَغُوثَ وَيَعُوقَ وَنَسْرًا. And do not abandon Wad, and not Suwa', and not Ya'uth, and Yaghuk, and not Nasra. And these are the names of the major gods at these times. And these same gods, these names of these 5 gods, are also borrowed by the Arabs in the time of the Arabs when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ comes. You know, so these same names are maintained. And it is said in the books of exegesis is that these names originate from the names of 5 righteous men. You know, and so people, when these men died, they decided that as a way to remind us of their righteousness, then we should erect an idol, a statue in their remembrance, you see. But over time, unfortunately, over generations, the general memory of those people was lost into these righteous men, and then people started to worship them, and they started to attribute good and evil to those particular idols that they created themselves. So when Nuh said they came up with this great plot, you know, they follow the rich, and then the rich tell them, you know, just don't let your gods go. You know, don't give up your stars. Don't give up your icons. You know, follow them. You know, they know what's best for you. Think about that in modern context as well. You know, it's the same thing occurring in our time as well. And so it goes on. He says, وَلَا تَذَرُنَّ وَدًّا وَلَا سُوَاعًا وَلَا يَغُوثَ وَيَعُوقَ وَنَسْرًا وَقَدْ أَضَلُّوا كَثِيرًا. And they have misled many. وَلَا تَزِدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا ضَلَالًا. And then Nuh makes a prayer. It said, do not increase the wrongdoers in anything except for misguidance. Right. So it says, they chose that, but you know what? Okay, you chose it, and now you deserve whatever. So this is Noah's state. That in some sense you can read it as a certain amount of frustration. That he's become frustrated at this point. You know, but after 1,000 years, he's become frustrated at this point. He's come to accept that, you know what? There's no chance for our people, for these people, you know. So he asked God, increase them in misguidance, you know, or increase only the wrongdoers in misguidance. And then he said, مِمَّا خَطِيئَاتِهِمْ أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا مِمَّا خَطِيئَاتِهِمْ أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا. Right? And because of their sin, they were drowned. And then they were entered into a fire. Right? أُغْرِقُوا فَأُدْخِلُوا نَارًا. فَلَمْ يَجِدُوا لَهُم مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنصَارًا. And they did not find a helper other than God, right? So they killed with water and then punished with fire after they die as well. Yeah. And then Noah says, again, apparently out of frustration, وَقَالَ نُوحٌ رَبِّي لَا تَذَرْ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ دَيَّارًا. He said, "O Lord, do not leave any rejecter of faith going about on the earth. Do not leave many persons reject faith on the earth," right? Because he understands that Allah is coming to purify the creation, right? And he had been calling them, and these people have shown themselves not fit for the guidance given to by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They only spread corruption. Right? And so he asked Allah to be the one who takes them out of existence, that don't leave one on the earth. Why? إِنَّكَ إِن تَذَرْهُمْ يُضِلُّ عِبَادَكَ وَلَا يَجِدُوا إِلَّا فَاجِرًا كَفَارًا. Why? Because if you leave them, they will mislead your servants, right? And they will only give birth to fajiran kafara, to a wicked and ungrateful other, right? Right, that's all that will happen. If you let them live and let them survive, then that's all that's going to happen. Why? Because you know they don't care. They don't care about the warning. They don't care about the punishment, you know, and that's what they're going to do. Because if you ultimately want us to live out our full potential as believers, as the khulafa of this ard, then go ahead and do that, you know. And of course, this was his state, and the Prophet Muhammad had a different state on this particular issue. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he answered the prayer of Noah alayhi salam in this particular regard. La yalidu illa fajiran kafara. And then he finally says, رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَلِمَنْ دَخَلَ بَيْتِيَ مُؤْمِنًا وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. O Lord, forgive me and my parents, and whoever enters my heart as a believer, and also forgive the believing men and women. Right. Right. So here we see again an example of what actually shows as well that when we think of one, whether or not it was only the family of Nuh alayhi salam that survived, then apparently it was not only them, or say also his mother and father, or unless we would say that his mother and father, he's praying for them, they had already passed away because they were believers themselves. At any rate, you know, so this prayer, Nuh alayhi salam was extremely optimistic about a believer. And so when we look at this verse, that though we know that it can be seen by some people as something negative to think of an exclusive sort of type of special class of people of God, that God places special worth on to the exclusion of others. Rather, faith is important for the believer. You're a Muslim. To be a Muslim is an important thing. And to say that if an individual is equally moral to a non-Muslim, you know, that, and the only thing that differentiates us is that I believe in Allah and we would say the correct way, and the other person does not believe in God at all, that to say that we're the same, you know, that no, we don't accept it, that we are the same, that the person who is a believer, or at least in an ideal situation, is that the understanding is that the believer has a certain potential that the non-believer doesn't have. And that particular potential is for us to live out and fulfill their role as the stewards of the earth. You see, they've been put here for that reason, you know, and the fact that we know and believe in the hereafter, among other things, that in itself gives us a certain edge and advantage over them. Hopefully, you know, it's not to say that every particular person who's a Muslim, just because they're a Muslim, that they're better than a person just because they're non-Muslim. No, we don't believe that, you know, but the Iman itself, true faith, you know, is what of Nuh alayhi salam placed an importance on him. So he said, Allah forgive me, forgive my parents, anyone who comes into my house as a believer, and as well as the believers, men and women. But then he goes on and says, وَلَا تَزِدَ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا تَبَارًا, and only increase the wrongdoers and destruction. Increase the wrongdoers and destruction. So here again, he's speaking of those who we consider to be those who are hostile to the religion of God, hostile to the people of God, hostile to peacemakers. You know, that those people who are spreading corruption, say, okay, increase them in their destruction, destroy them, remove them from their earth. Why? Because they don't bring any good to the earth. The most beneficial and useful of all people are those who are the best people. You know, the best of people, those who are the most useful and beneficial are the people, as the Prophet Muhammad has taught us. And so hopefully, by reflecting upon those particular verses, there are certain lessons that we can take from it and benefit from. And we look forward to benefiting more from what is offered by our other faculty members during this great blessed month of Ramadan. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the benefit of this month. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the patience and endurance and the humility and the forbearance of the Prophet Nuh alayhi salam. And we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He placed truth and honesty in our hearts and upon our tongues. And we look forward to more of this, inshallah. And we see you later, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.